Most people think they know the Taj Mahal. They don't. What millions of visitors photograph every year is not just a monument of love, it is one of the most carefully misunderstood structures in human history. Rising nearly 200 feet above the banks of the Yamuna River, the white marble dome looks serene, almost eternal, as if it has always belonged to the landscape. More than 8 million people come here each year searching for the same story. A grieving emperor, a beautiful queen, and a palace built for love that was meant to last forever. But if you step away from the perfect postcard view and look a little closer, the story begins to fracture. Engineers quietly repair hairline cracks in the marble. Hidden corridors beneath the platform remain sealed behind iron gates for decades. Entire sections of the foundation are built from materials that, according to basic physics and chemistry, should have decayed centuries ago. And yet the structure still stands, carrying the weight of tens of millions of tons of stone above unstable river soil. Historians have long argued that the Taj Mahal is not simply a romantic monument, but the result of political ambition, imperial wealth, dangerous myths, and engineering solutions so unconventional they almost sound impossible. Why was a second black twin of the Taj Mahal once planned across the river? What exactly lies inside the sealed chambers beneath the monument? And how can a building this massive survive for nearly 400 years on a foundation that should not exist? Tonight we step beyond the legend and examine the evidence, because the closer you look at the Taj Mahal, the less it resembles a fairy tale, and the more it begins to look like one of the greatest unsolved architectural puzzles ever built. For centuries, the Taj Mahal has been introduced to the world with a single sentence: the greatest monument to love ever built. The story sounds simple, almost comforting. In the 17th century, the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan lost his beloved wife Mumtaz Mahal during childbirth. Overwhelmed with grief, he ordered the construction of a mausoleum so magnificent that it would preserve her memory forever. The result was a palace of white marble rising nearly 200 feet above the Yamuna River, its surfaces glowing softly at sunrise and turning silver under the moonlight. For generations, travelers have stood before that dome and felt the same quiet emotion, the sense that love somehow had been carved into stone. But history is rarely that gentle. Behind the polished marble lies the machinery of an empire. The Taj Mahal was not built in isolation by a grieving husband alone. It was built by the full power of one of the wealthiest empires of its time. Thousands of craftsmen, engineers, calligraphers, and laborers worked for more than 2 decades to complete it. Precious stones arrived from across Asia. Marble was transported from quarries hundreds of miles away. Entire supply networks were organized to serve a single architectural vision. To the outside world, the monument symbolized devotion. But within the Mughal court, it also symbolized power, the ability of an emperor to command resources on a scale almost unimaginable. And that scale came at a cost. As the construction expanded year after year, the treasury of the empire began to strain under the burden. Advisors worried. Rival princes watched carefully. In a royal court where loyalty was fragile and ambition ran deep, a project of this magnitude was never just about love. It was about prestige, legacy, and control over how history would remember a ruler. The Taj Mahal was meant to immortalize Shah Jahan's devotion, but at the same time, it quietly revealed the dangerous edge of imperial ambition. What began as a tribute to a queen would soon become something much larger, a symbol that would reshape politics, divide a royal family, and set the stage for one of the most dramatic power struggles in the Mughal Empire. If you stand with your back to the Taj Mahal and look across the Yamuna River, the scene feels strangely quiet. Instead of another palace or grand monument, you see an open stretch of land covered with grass, scattered stones, and the remains of an old Mughal garden known today as Mehtab Bagh, the Moonlight Garden. Most visitors barely notice it, yet according to several historical accounts, that empty ground was once meant to host one of the most ambitious architectural visions ever imagined. The Taj Mahal, magnificent as it is, may have been designed as only half of a much larger idea. In the final years of his reign, Emperor Shah Jahan was said to be planning a second mausoleum directly across the river. It would mirror the white Taj Mahal in almost every detail, the same great dome rising above the horizon, the same slender minarets guarding the platform, the same perfect symmetry carved into stone. But there would be one dramatic difference. While the tomb of Mumtaz Mahal gleamed in luminous white marble, the emperor's own mausoleum was rumored to be built entirely from black marble. Together, the two structures would stand like opposites facing one another across the waterlight and shadow life and death, love and mourning. A bridge was even imagined connecting the two monuments across the Yamuna, turning the river itself into a symbolic axis between the worlds of the living and the dead. It would have been one of the most extravagant architectural complexes in human history, a statement not only of devotion, but of imperial power on a scale the world had rarely seen. But the dream began to collapse under its own weight. The construction of the Taj Mahal had already drained enormous wealth from the Mughal treasury. Advisors grew uneasy as the costs mounted year after year. And inside the imperial family, tension was building. Shah Jahan's sons were watching their father closely, questioning whether his grief and his endless spending had begun to cloud his judgment. In an empire where the throne was never guaranteed, even a monument of love could become a dangerous symbol of weakness. And soon that symbol would ignite a struggle that would change the fate of the emperor forever. For centuries, the legend of the Black Taj Mahal refused to disappear. Travelers in the 18th and 19th centuries swore they had seen dark ruins across the Yamuna, fragments of stone that hinted at a second unfinished monument. The story gained credibility because of one particular witness, the French traveler and jeweler Jean-Baptiste Tavernier, who visited India while the Taj Mahal was still being built. In his journals, he mentioned preparations for another grand structure opposite the White Mausoleum, and because Tavernier had traded directly with Mughal royalty, historians treated his words with unusual respect. Over time, the story hardened into accepted belief. Guides repeated it, writers romanticized it, and generations of visitors imagined a lost twin buried beneath the riverbank. Then, in the late 20th century, archaeologists finally decided to test the legend. Excavations began in the garden across the river Mehtab Bagh. As the soil was carefully removed, researchers uncovered old stone foundations, fragments of marble, and several darkened slabs that looked suspiciously like black stone. For a moment, the excitement was electric. Had the emperor's impossible dream actually begun before history interrupted it? Had the foundations of the Black Taj Mahal been hiding in plain sight for 300 years? The answer came not from myth, but from laboratory analysis. Chemical tests revealed that the dark stones were not rare black marble at all. They were ordinary white marble that had simply changed color after centuries buried in damp soil. Mud oxidation and biological growth had slowly turned the stone almost black. But the deeper surprise came when researchers reconstructed the original design of the garden itself. At its center sat a long reflecting pool, aligned with mathematical precision to the Taj Mahal across the river. On a still night, when the water surface is perfectly calm, the monument reflects in the dark pool like a mirror. And in that reflection, the bright white marble becomes deep black against the night sky. Shah Jahan had not built a second mausoleum of stone. Instead, he had created its shadow and illusion of a black Taj Mahal, formed by reflection geometry and the human eye. Millions of visitors walk across the polished marble platform of the Taj Mahal every year, unaware that an entire hidden layer of the monument lies directly beneath their feet. From the river-facing side of the structure, a long corridor runs quietly along the base of the foundation, leading to a row of sealed chambers carved into the lower level of the complex. There are 22 of these rooms in total, their entrances blocked by heavy iron grills or permanently sealed behind brick walls. For decades, the doors have remained closed. Tourists are forbidden to enter. Journalists are denied access. Even many government officials have never stepped inside. Naturally, silence creates imagination. Over the years, the locked chambers have become the center of countless rumors. Some conspiracy theories claim that the rooms hide ancient statues of Hindu gods, supposedly removed when Mughal rulers converted an older temple into a mausoleum. Others imagine forgotten Mughal treasure vaults, hidden archives, or even burial spaces where the bodies of laborers who died during construction were sealed away. Grainy photographs occasionally appear online, taken through narrow cracks in the brickwork, showing dusty vaults and dark corridors disappearing into shadow. The images only deepen the mystery. Yet the real reason these rooms remain sealed has nothing to do with hidden relics or secret histories. It is something far less dramatic, but far more threatening to the survival of the monument itself. The Taj Mahal is built primarily from marble, a stone composed largely of calcium carbonate. In humid underground spaces, when marble interacts with carbon dioxide in the air, a slow chemical reaction begins that gradually transforms the stone into gypsum, a much weaker material that crumbles over time. If the sealed chambers were opened and filled with thousands of curious visitors breathing inside them, each day carbon dioxide levels would rise dramatically. The process of deterioration could accelerate, weakening the very arches that support the platform above. By sealing the rooms, engineers created a controlled microclimate, stabilizing the air and protecting the foundation from invisible decay. The locked doors beneath the Taj Mahal do not hide ancient secrets, they protect the fragile chemistry keeping the monument alive. Among the many stories told about the Taj Mahal, one of the most chilling has echoed through centuries of retelling. According to a widely repeated legend, once the monument was finally completed, and Emperor Shah Jahan stood before its shimmering white dome. He was overcome not only by pride, but by fear. Fear that the artisans and architects who created such beauty might one day build something just as magnificent for another ruler. And so the story claims he issued a brutal command. The hands of the craftsmen, sometimes said to number 20,000, were cut off so that the Taj Mahal would remain forever unique. Guides whisper this tale to visitors even today, adding dramatic pauses as they describe the Yamuna River turning red with blood. It is a story that perfectly fits the popular image of ancient empires ruled by absolute power. Yet when historians began to examine the actual records of the Mughal court, the legend quickly began to unravel. The chief architect of the Taj Mahal, Ustad Ahmad Lahori, did not disappear from history after the project was finished. In fact, documents show that he later helped design parts of the Red Fort in Delhi. Many of the same craftsmen who carved the intricate marble patterns of the Taj Mahal continued working on other imperial projects, including the construction of the Jama Masjid Mosque. Their careers did not end, they evolved. Linguists studying Mughal administrative documents eventually uncovered a far more ordinary explanation for the myth. Contracts written in Persian often described skilled artisans as having their hands bound to the emperor's service, meaning they agreed not to work for rival rulers. Over generations, the metaphor was misunderstood, and what once referred to loyalty became twisted into a story of cruelty. In reality, the legend reveals less about Shah Jahan's brutality and more about how easily history can transform language into myth. At first glance, the location of the Taj Mahal seems almost poetic, a gleaming marble monument rising beside the gentle curve of the Yamuna River. But from an engineering perspective, that location is deeply unsettling. The soil along the riverbank is not solid rock, but a shifting mixture of sand and clay ground that moves subtly with seasonal floods and erosion. Modern engineers would hesitate before placing a heavy structure on such unstable terrain, let alone a monument weighing tens of millions of tons. Yet for nearly 4 centuries, the Taj Mahal has remained remarkably level, its great dome still balanced with almost mathematical precision. The secret lies hidden beneath the marble platform far below what visitors can see. Mughal engineers developed an ingenious foundation system centuries ahead of its time. Instead of building directly on the soft soil, they excavated dozens of deep wells through the unstable layers until they reached firmer ground below. These wells were then filled with stone and mortar, forming massive underground pillars capable of distributing the enormous weight of the structure. But the most surprising element came above those pillars, an enormous platform supported by timber-specifically dense ebony wood. Under ordinary conditions, wood decays quickly. But when it remains constantly submerged in water and deprived of oxygen, ebony hardens and becomes incredibly durable, almost like iron. The Yamuna River, which appears to threaten the monument, actually preserves it. Moisture from the surrounding groundwater keeps the wooden foundation saturated, preventing it from rotting. Today, however, this delicate balance is under pressure. Pollution dams and water diversion have gradually lowered the river's level. If the groundwater drops too far and the timber foundation begins to dry, the wood could weaken and crumble. In that moment, the Taj Mahal's greatest ally, the river itself, could become the key to its survival or its slow collapse. Few architectural works in human history pursue symmetry as obsessively as the Taj Mahal. Every pathway, garden, fountain, and arch was designed to mirror its counterpart with almost mathematical perfection. If you draw an imaginary line from the grand entrance gate through the central reflecting pools and across the marble platform, the entire complex unfolds as a flawless reflection on both sides of that axis. The minarets stand at equal distances, leaning ever so slightly outward, so that in the event of a catastrophic earthquake, they would fall away from the central tomb rather than crush it. Even the calligraphy framing the massive entrance arch was calculated to correct for human perspective, with letters gradually increasing in size so they appear uniform when viewed from the ground. The entire structure feels like a physical attempt to impose perfect order on the world, but inside the tomb chamber, that order breaks. At the center stands the elegant cenotaph of Mumtaz Mahal, placed precisely along the axis of symmetry that governs the entire complex. Yet beside it, slightly off to one side, sits another tomb, larger, heavier, and unmistakably out of alignment. It belongs to Shah Jahan himself, the emperor who dedicated decades of imperial power to creating flawless balance, ultimately became the one element that disrupted it. He had never planned to lie here. His own mausoleum was meant to rise across the river in black marble, but history intervened. And in the end, the architect of perfection broke his own symmetry forever. The Taj Mahal is often presented as a simple symbol, an eternal monument to love carved in white marble. But when we look beyond the polished surface, the story becomes far more complicated. Behind the elegance of its domes and gardens lies a world of ambition, fragile engineering, political betrayal, and myths powerful enough to reshape how generations understand history. The dream of a black twin across the river dissolves into a masterpiece of optical illusion. The mysterious sealed chambers beneath the platform turn out to be a desperate effort to protect the monument from slow chemical decay. Legends of cruelty fade when confronted by surviving records of the very craftsmen who continued building the empire's greatest structures. And beneath the entire monument rests an invisible foundation of submerged timber quietly depending on the life of a river that is slowly changing. The Taj Mahal is not a frozen fairy tale from the past. It is a living structure balanced between myth and reality, beauty and vulnerability. Perhaps that is why it continues to captivate the world. Because even after we uncover the engineering tricks, the political intrigue, and the fragile materials beneath the marble, we still look up at that luminous dome and feel something deeper than history. A reminder that human creations, like human emotions, are never as simple as they first appear. The Taj Mahal reminds us that history is rarely as simple as the stories we inherit. What appears to be a perfect monument to love is also a reminder of ambition, political power, fragile engineering, and the myths we create to make sense of the past. It teaches an important lesson that still matters today. Beauty can hide complexity, and legends can easily replace truth if we stop asking questions. In a world driven by quick headlines and viral narratives, understanding the deeper story behind what we see becomes more important than ever. The Taj Mahal has survived nearly 4 centuries, not only because of stone and design, but because people continue to care about preserving it. And maybe that's the real message: great achievements endure only when each generation chooses to protect them. If you enjoy uncovering the hidden stories behind history's greatest monuments, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who loves history, and subscribe for more investigations that reveal the truth behind the world we think we know.